The cooperative was formed in 1962. Became a corporation with a full set of directors. And the system was to provide service both in southwestern New Mexico and Cochise County and Graham County here in Arizona. I was contacted by the president of the board. I had a considerable amount of telephone experience. Came out and interviewed and accepted the job and reported here May the 1st, 1963. We started in May, about the latter part of May, we began to get the easements and so forth, and began to let contracts, got the money released so we could, I rented an office up in the same building as Rick's Tavern there in Wilcox. And most of the work was getting it started. You know, there was just nothing out there. Everything was word of mouth. There was no communication in the rural area at all. So that's when the farmers and ranchers, basically, they're the ones that started. We had Pierce, we had San Arizona, we had Bonita, we had San Simon, Portal, we had Animas, New Mexico. We began construction on all of those. We provided service in all of those exchanges by the end of 1964. Being able to start from scratch with the promise that if you do certain things, if you do them right, it's going to be successful. It's going to provide a service, you know, for the people. Being able to do what we did, really with so little, and with so much to start with, all the easements that had to be acquired, but just to have to give credit to those people that I was able to bring in, you know, and bring us good people, and they bring in good people, and we all worked together. We had the greatest bunch of employees that I got to work with, and we were a whole lot like a family. Everybody was concerned about everybody else. It's just been a great experience. Valley still has a great name, and it's greatly appreciated around all the communities. And I just feel good about where it is right now.
When I started, we were basically plain old telephone service. We provided service to all of the rural area around here in Cochise County and Graham County, just in the Bonita area for Graham County. We went into Hidalgo County and Grant County, New Mexico. I had met Lyle when I was going to college in Silver City, and he talked me out of teaching and to come to work for him at Valley. So in '72 I started part-time doing some accounting work and doing some billing with Valley. In 1975 I went full-time with Valley and stayed with them until 2004. When I started, Plias Exchange did not exist as far as Valley-Telephone-Coop. There was just a large Animas exchange, and about the time I started, Phelps Dodge was building the smelter in Plias area. So we rechanged our boundaries, added the Plias Exchange, and at that time we purchased the serving area of Hachita and added that to the Plias Exchange. We had acquired Bowie, and that was named Apache. It was called Apache Telephone Company, and Valley-Telephone-Coop acquired that telephone company from the Welker family. Then in the 80s we picked up Columbus, New Mexico, and bought that from Continental Telephone of the West, and it was a fairly large exchange, and we had to go in there and then rebuild a lot of the facilities in there. And then about in the about mid-90s, early 90s, we were able to purchase from U.S. West. They sold 10 exchanges in Arizona, and we were able to purchase 5 or 4 of those exchanges. I think that added Clifton and York Valley and Duncan and Elfrida to Valley telephone serving area. We grew into business systems, we grew into cellular service, then went on to bigger and better things through the fiber optic cable, our pipeline from El Paso to Tucson, and tying all of our company together. I couldn't have asked for better employment my whole life. The people that you work with on a daily basis, there isn't a bad person. We had very good years, and everybody kind of chipped in shoulder to shoulder and hand to hand, and still have a great bunch of people. We were a small company. Valley has always been a close, family-knit company. And of course, it is a cooperative, and the basis of the whole company is a cooperative. Valley is very well known to everybody in the communities, and I think to keep our customers happy and have the best service possible, I think that was always the goal of Valley Telephone, since it was a cooperative and was owned by its members, is to serve the customers.
My dad worked for a rural telephone company in Montana when I was a kid. Prior to that, my grandfather worked for a rural electric co-op, so it's really kind of been a family thing all along. When I was in high school, my dad got out of the business and went into a consulting firm, and so I started with him in 1986, and then about 5 years later, I decided to go to a rural telephone co-op and instead of doing the consulting and work for the operating side. You know, obviously it was a career goal to end up managing a rural company, and it is a cause that I care about. I grew up in a rural area, and and I believe in the theory behind people coming together, for one common good, and that's what a co-op's about. Valley's always been a very close-knit company. The people all get along very well. I've had a lot of experience even before coming here of being exposed to people from Valley, through various meetings in New Mexico and industry groups and stuff like that, and it's always been a company that seems to get along very well and like one another, like working together, and it's a great environment. What you're seeing now out of the FCC, basically the desire is to get the whole industry to an IP world. That's where the industry is going. The FCC is trying to drive the industry in that direction, although I think the FCC is actually a little bit behind the market itself, but they're basically trying to move the industry to where it is a broadband is what we provide, so everybody has a good connection. Valley has transferred the whole network from the traditional switched or TDM network, as we call it, over to an IP network. So basically we have upgraded all of the switches to the internet protocol. We've also started doing some fiber optics to the home. We've taken that a step further, and we're providing video over broadband too. In a fast-paced industry, it's basically the same mission, and that's what we're about. We're going to be providing the best service we can to rural customers and keep it at the most reasonable rate we can, because I don't think if we're here providing those services, there's certainly going to be people that are left behind. You go back to Mr. Donovan and what he got started. What he was doing was basically trying to get everybody connected, and it was formed basically because nobody else would serve these areas. So our members had to get together, start a company on their own, basically provide the service to themselves. It's a huge accomplishment to stay in business for 50 years. And the thing that's most striking to me as I think about it, having come in at the later end of it, but you go and you look at what that original mission was, and you look at what the mission is right now and how little it has changed, even though the technology has changed multiple times, and it's been almost incomprehensible how far advanced it is compared to what it was. But that basic mission is to provide these rural customers with the best communication services as possible and keep it at the most reasonable rate we can.